Have you ever felt like a puppet? A marionette dangling from 1,000 invisible strings, each one held by a different aspect of the world. A careless comment from a colleague pulls one string, and your mood plummets. An unexpected bill arrives, yanking another, and anxiety floods your system. The praise of a superior tugs a third, and you're lifted into a fleeting euphoria, only to be dropped when the next driver cuts you off in traffic. We live our lives in a constant, convulsive dance, choreographed not by our own will but by the haphazard whims of circumstance. Our inner state becomes a chaotic reflection of the external world, a stormy sea, mirroring a stormy sky. The ancient Stoics looked upon this state of being not as an inevitability, but as a form of self-imposed slavery. They proposed a radical, earth-shattering idea that true freedom is not found in controlling the world, which is impossible, but in mastering the one and only thing we truly possess, our own mind. They offered a path to sever those strings, to put down the puppet and stand firm, a sovereign ruler in the kingdom of the self. This path begins with the profound understanding that our problems, our pain, our turmoil, do not originate from the events themselves, but from the narrative we construct around them. As the slave-turned-philosopher Epictetus taught, men are disturbed not by things but by the views which they take of them. This is the cornerstone of the entire philosophy. It's a seismic shift in perspective. An insult is not in itself harmful. It is just a collection of vibrations in the air interpreted by our eardrums and processed by our brain. The harm is born in the moment we add our own judgment. This person is disrespecting me. My reputation is damaged. I am diminished. The event is neutral. Our reaction is the poison. Consider the mundane tragedy of a spilled coffee on a crisp white shirt just before a crucial meeting. The event itself is a minor inconvenience, a temporary stain, a moment of clumsiness. But for the untrained mind, it is a catalyst for a cascade of self-flagellation and rage. The internal monologue begins. Idiot! How could you be so clumsy? Now the whole day is ruined. I'll look like a fool in this meeting. Everyone will think I'm incompetent. This always happens to me. The coffee is long cold, the stain already setting, but the mind has ignited a raging inferno of negativity. The day is not ruined by the coffee. It is ruined by the story of the ruined day. The Stoic, however, seeks to cultivate a space in the mind, a sacred pause between the splash of the coffee and the eruption of emotion. This is the citadel of reason, the inner fortress where true power resides. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, articulated this principle with breathtaking clarity. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. To inhabit that space is the fundamental practice. When the coffee spills, the Stoic feels the initial jolt of surprise, perhaps a flash of annoyance. They are human after all. But instead of allowing that spark to become a wildfire, they retreat to the citadel. In that momentary pause, they observe the emotion without becoming it. They see the anger rising like a tide but refuse to be swept away. They ask, what is actually in my control here? The spillage is done. The past is beyond their command. What remains? Their response. They can choose to let this minor incident dictate their emotional weather for the rest of the day, or they can choose to see it for what it is, a laundry problem, not a character flaw. They might even find a sliver of humor in the absurdity of it. The response, then, is not a knee-jerk reaction, but a deliberate, reasoned choice. This is inconvenient, but it does not define my day or my worth. I will address it and move on. This is not a denial of feeling. It is a refusal to be governed by it. It is the difference between observing a storm from the safety of a reinforced shelter and being tossed about in a raft on the open sea. The storm is the same. The experience is entirely different. This practice of observation turns every emotional reaction into a powerful diagnostic tool. Our emotional outbursts are not random. They are flares shot up from the deepest parts of our psyche. illuminating the vulnerabilities we carry within. Your reaction is a mirror, reflecting not the world's flaws, but your own attachments, insecurities, and unexamined beliefs. Imagine someone at a gathering calls an idea you've shared naive. The untrained mind immediately goes to war. It becomes defensive, its arguments sharpened by ego. It might lash out, withdraw into sullen silence, or spend the rest of the evening replaying the moment, the sting of the word festering like a wound. The Stoic, however, uses this moment for introspection. They feel the sting, but then they ask why. Why did that specific word, naive, have such power? The investigation begins. Is it because I have a deep-seated fear of being seen as unintelligent? Is it because my self-worth is too heavily invested in the approval of others? Am I attached to this particular idea not because of its merit, but because it is my idea? The reaction is no longer about the other person. It becomes a map to your own inner landscape. The emotional flare has illuminated a corner of your soul where the ego is too fragile, where your identity is built on the precarious foundation of external validation. Seeing this, you can begin the real work. Not the work of proving the other person wrong, but the work of fortifying that inner vulnerability. You can practice reminding yourself that your worth is inherent, not granted by others. You can learn to evaluate your ideas on their own logic, separate from your ego. The insulter, in their carelessness, has inadvertently handed you a key to your own growth. This is the alchemy of Stoicism, turning the lead of a perceived slight into the gold of self-knowledge. As Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, wrote in his private journal, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." You do not mirror their negativity. You use it as a whetstone to sharpen your own virtue. This leads us to the construction of the inner fortress itself. A pause gives you a moment of refuge, and self-examination shows you where the walls are weak. But how do you build a structure that can withstand the perpetual siege of life? The Stoics were not armchair philosophers. They were architects of the soul, and they left us the blueprints. The foundation is the dichotomy of control. You must relentlessly, mercilessly categorize everything in your life into two columns, that which is within your power and that which is not. In your power are your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, your responses, your character. Out of your power is everything else: the weather, the economy, the traffic, what other people think, say, or do, your health, your reputation, your very mortality. The modern world encourages us to obsess over the second column. We spend our energy trying to manipulate opinions, control outcomes, and rage against the unchangeable. The Stoic devotes their entire energy to the first column. This is the only domain where effort is never wasted. You cannot control if your flight is delayed, but you can control whether you spend that extra time in furious complaint or in reading a book. You cannot control a sudden downturn in the market, but you can control your financial prudence and your reaction to loss. You cannot control a diagnosis, but you can control the courage and dignity with which you face it. This is not passivity. It is the ultimate form of strategic action. It is focusing your army on the one battle you can actually win, the battle for your own mind. The walls of this fortress are built, brick by brick, through daily practice. The Stoic practice of journaling, as exemplified by Aurelius's Meditations, is not a simple diary. It is a rigorous morning and evening review. In the morning, what challenges might I face today? How will I meet them with virtue? What is in my control? In the evening, what did I do well? Where did I let my reactions get the better of me? How can I do better tomorrow? This is the act of training your mind, just as an athlete trains their body. Another powerful building material is the practice of premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. This isn't morbid pessimism. It's a kind of psychological inoculation. You take a few moments each day to vividly imagine things going wrong. Your business could fail. You could lose a loved one. You could face public humiliation. By contemplating these scenarios in a controlled, rational way, you strip them of their terror. You rehearse your response. You realize that even in the face of the worst outcomes, your core self, your ability to choose, to act with virtue, to endure, remains intact. When adversity does strike, it is not a shocking ambush, but an event for which you have, in some small way, prepared. You have already built the resilience to withstand it. The very strength of this fortress is measured by how little it depends on the outside world. It is a citadel powered by an internal generator, not by the fickle electrical grid of external events. This is why the Stoics preached a form of simple living, not because wealth or comfort are inherently evil, but because attachment to them is a vulnerability. The more you need something outside your control to be happy, the more strings you give the world to pull. If your peace requires a luxury car, a promotion, or constant praise, your peace is fragile. But if your peace is built upon your own virtue, your self-respect, and your ability to act with reason, then it is unshakable. You can enjoy wealth when you have it and endure its absence without despair. You have built a peace that cannot be repossessed. This brings us to a more dynamic, active principle, a kind of emotional martial art. When confronted with the raw energy of an emotion, anger, fear, jealousy, the instinctive response is to resist it, to fight it head-on. We try to suppress anger, to push away fear. But as any martial artist knows, meeting force with direct force is often the least effective strategy. It creates a violent, draining clash. The master does not resist. They redirect. They use the opponent's own momentum against them. This is the Stoic approach to emotion. Instead of trying to crush anger, you ask, what is this energy? It is a demand for action, for justice. Unchecked, it leads to destructive rage. But what if you redirect it? What if that surge of energy is channeled not into screaming at a subordinate, but into meticulously crafting a proposal to fix the systemic issue that caused the problem in the first place? What if the anger you feel at social injustice isn't dissipated in a fleeting online rant, but is redirected into consistent, disciplined volunteer work? The energy is the same. Its expression is transformed from a destructive force into a creative one. Consider fear. Fear can paralyze. It whispers of all the things that could go wrong, creating a vortex of anxiety that prevents action. But what if you redirect that energy? Fear is simply the mind's way of identifying potential threats. Redirected, it becomes a powerful tool for preparation. The fear of public speaking can be channeled into extra hours of practice and research, making you more prepared than anyone else. The fear of a project failing can be transformed into a meticulous review of every detail, identifying weaknesses before they become catastrophic. Fear, harnessed, becomes diligence. Even the most debilitating emotions, like grief, can be redirected. Resisting grief is futile. It will break you. But flowing with it, acknowledging it, and then redirecting its immense energy can lead to profound growth. The pain of loss can be transformed into a deeper empathy for others who are suffering. It can become the motivation to create a foundation, to start a support group, to live a life that honors the memory of the one who is gone. The emotion is not an enemy to be vanquished. It is a powerful river to be channeled. This is the art of turning every feeling into strength. It is Stoicism in motion. It is how you cease to be a victim of your emotions and begin to become their master. Ultimately, this entire philosophy culminates in a principle of profound resilience, a way of seeing every fall not as an end, but as the beginning of a new ascent. Life will knock you down. You will fail. You will be betrayed. You will lose things you love. These are not possibilities. They are certainties. The defining question is not if you will fall, but how you will rise. The Stoics saw every adversity as a forge. Hardship is the fire, and you are the iron placed within it. The flames are meant to consume you, the hammer of fate is meant to shatter you. But through the application of reason and virtue, you can emerge from the fire not broken, but tempered. You can emerge sharper, stronger, more resilient. The very thing that was meant to destroy you becomes the instrument of your refinement. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The job you lost is not just a loss. It is an opportunity to reevaluate your path and discover a more fulfilling one. The relationship that ended in heartbreak is not just a wound. It is a lesson in love, attachment, and your own emotional needs, preparing you to love better in the future. The illness that ravages your body is not just a tragedy. It is a stark, powerful reminder to live every moment with intention and gratitude. This is the principle of the phoenix. From the ashes of every failure, every loss, every moment of despair, you have the choice to be reborn. You are not the fragile glass that shatters on impact. You are the fire-forged steel, made stronger by the blows. You are the phoenix, rising from your own ashes, not as you were before, but renewed, with wings made of wisdom and strength. This is the promise of Stoicism. It is not a promise of a life without pain, but of a life where pain has a purpose. It is not a life free from storms, but the skill to be the unshakable lighthouse in the midst of them. It is the long, arduous, but ultimately liberating journey from being a puppet, jerked about by the world, to becoming the calm, unshakable master of your own soul. The world will continue to knock. Events will unfold. People will act as they will. But the citadel of your mind is yours alone to command. The world can knock at the door, but you are the one who decides whether to let the chaos in.